The urinary system includes the kidneys and structures that help to transport urine out of your body. So the urinary system has several functions. So the main one is to filter the blood. So there are waste products that are transported in your bloodstream to the kidneys. And these are typically waste products that are produced when your body uses nutrients and oxygen to make energy, or it's produced when your body breaks down different substances like proteins and nucleic acids. So the kidneys help to filter the blood, and then the waste products are excreted from the body in the urine. Your kidneys also help to maintain a homeostatic pH, so your body fluid pH. If it gets too acidic, your kidneys can excrete more hydrogen ions, and if it becomes too basic, it can reabsorb more hydrogen ions. And by doing so, it can help to balance out the pH of your body. It also helps to regulate the solute concentration of your body fluids. So examples of solutes include sodium, potassium, sugars, and basically if you have too much potassium in your body, your kidneys can get rid of the excess potassium or the excess sodium or sugar, or kind of depending on whether there's too much or not enough of it. Also, because your urinary system basically determines how much water you keep in your blood versus how much you excrete out in your urine, it can help regulate your blood pressure, because one factor of blood pressure is the volume of your blood. And the volume of your blood is primarily based on how much fluid you have in your blood. So if you're really hydrated and your blood pressure doesn't need to be increased, then your kidneys can actually get rid of the excess water. But let's say your blood pressure drops, your kidneys can actually reabsorb and kind of hold on to more water in the body in order to increase your blood volume. The primary structures associated with the urinary system include the kidneys, where the majority of the functions are really carried out. So the kidneys are where the majority of the filtering is happening. The ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra are really just transport areas for urine as they leave the body. So the ureters are these tubes. You've got one connecting each kidney to the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder is then a holding area for urine, and then the urethra allows the urine to leave the body. So the urine drains from the urinary bladder through the urethra in order to basically for you to pee and relieve yourself. So if we look at the external kind of gross anatomy of the kidney, so this is looking at the big stuff. First of all, you'll notice that there's a concave area here, and this concave area, well, I guess it's concave to the kidney, but also convex to like the ureters. But this area here is where blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and the ureters enter and leave the kidney. So you can see the blood vessels are delivering blood to the kidneys, and then the veins drain blood away from the kidneys, and then the ureter drains the urine down to the urinary bladder. Also, superior to each kidney is where we find the adrenal glands. So you've got two adrenal glands, one superior to each kidney. If we were to kind of cut the kidney in half, so this is looking at the kidney from as if we had chopped it in half. And the outer area is called the renal cortex. And then the inner area here is called the medulla. And in between these areas of renal medulla are called renal pyramids. So the pyramids are the structures that make up the renal medulla. The renal columns are just extensions of the cortex that go down in between each of the renal pyramids here. All right, so you've got the cortex on the outside, and then you've got the medulla kind of deeper into the kidney, and they are kind of packaged into these renal pyramid structures. Now, remember that your kidneys, one of their jobs is to filter the blood. So there's a really, really big blood supply going to and from the kidneys. So if we were to trace the flow of blood, so first of all, blood leaving the heart it exits the heart through the aorta. The aorta then branches off into the renal arteries. So you've got a left renal artery and a right one. So one for the left kidney, one for the right kidney. And then I kind of just put smaller arteries in here because there are a couple of branches that happen so that this artery gets kind of smaller and smaller inside the kidney. And you can see those here. You can see them. You can see the segmental artery, interlobar, arcuate, and interlobular. But I kind of passed over those here because I'm not going to make you remember those. Just know that the renal artery goes into the kidney and then it branches into smaller and smaller arteries. And then these smaller arteries ultimately end up delivering blood to something called the afferent arteriole. And this is where things start to get kind of really important because I'm going to switch to the next slide here. These structures highlighted in yellow are associated with the nephron. And the nephron is the microscopic functional unit of the kidney. So each kidney has kind of on average about 1 million nephrons. So these are teeny, teeny, tiny. But you can see that these smaller arteries deliver blood into the afferent arteriole. And then that blood goes into a capillary bed called the glomerulus. And the glomerulus is where material gets filtered. So material gets pushed from the blood in the glomerulus into this tube-like structure called the nephron. And we'll talk a little bit more about what happens in that process a little further down the line. Now, from the glomerulus, there is an efferent arteriole. And you can think of efferent, the E standing for exit, because this is where the blood exits the glomerulus. And then the efferent arteriole branches and forms another capillary bed called the peritubular capillaries and the vasa recta. And these are the capillaries that are around the tube of the nephron. And we're going to talk a lot about the exchange of materials between the glomerulus and the tubule, and between the tubule and the peritubular capillaries. So once the material has been filtered and kind of exchanged and stuff gets reabsorbed, and we'll go into all of that later, ultimately that blood converges and drains into venules, which drains into veins. Those smaller veins ultimately drain into the renal vein, which goes into the vena cava, the inferior vena cava, which delivers the blood back to the heart. So the key takeaway point from this slide here is that you have a renal artery and a renal vein that deliver blood to the kidney and away from the kidney. And then these very, very small microscopic arterioles and capillaries are the ones that are directly involved in filtering blood and producing urine. So we're going to talk about the role of these different things here when we talk about how the nephron works.